the radio guy Mike Prince, and welcome to a Sports Report Saturday. Big night on Friday night, the Battle of Waller County, and it had all Falcons all night long. Falcons with a huge win over the Hempstead Bobcats. Two first-year coaches on the scene in Waller County, and we have on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline right now with us none other than Theodis Regans. Good morning, sir, and how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me this morning.
All right. Well, hey, a big win on Friday night. Give us a recap, if you would, man, on how things fared out for the Falcons.
Like I said, it was pretty huge win for the community, for kids and for the administration here at Royal House Group. Last night's score was 61-6. Had pretty big offensive, explosive plays last night. The defense played pretty stout. And overall, we came away with a great win last night for Brooklyn Royal High School.
Yes, sir. A big win for Royal, as you mentioned, a big boost for the community. These two schools have been going at each other for years now, and of late, Royal had been coming up short. But I'm pretty sure you were hearing all that leading into last night's competition, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I think the kids said they hadn't beat Hempstead in maybe 7 years. I know the senior class had not beat them since they've been there, so they talked about it, and they wanted to make sure that they wouldn't with the class that left Royal without beating Hempstead.
Yes, sir. Now, with that big win out of the way, and we'll get to recaps on some of the kids that did some outstanding things on last night. That's, as they would say, a monkey off the back, but it can't get in the way of your next opponent, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we take it 1 week at a time. We tell our guys we just want to go 1-0 every week. So we try not to, harp on the last game. So we're going to get this game out the way. This morning we're going to watch film and have a little practice and get this game out the way. And I think we got to rest them. Again, it's 1 week at a time. So we cannot hop on this game from yesterday.
Now, if you don't mind, Coach, you had a lot of good to go in your favor. Highlight some of your guys that shined on Friday Night Lights.
We had our sophomore quarterback, Derek Noel. He may have passed for well over 400 yards and maybe 5 touchdowns. We had Demarius Gibson. I think he may have had 3 receiving touchdowns, well over 200 yards receiving. We had Deshaun Adams. Had over maybe 100 yards receiving as well. So, again, our offense was pretty explosive last night. Defense kind of shut them down after the first quarter. It was a touchdown early in the first quarter. It was 6-0. And, offense was again played well, and defense stepped up as well.
Yes, sir. Now, Coach, let's be honest now. Look, were you surprised with the performance of your guys from last night's game?
To say surprised, to be honest with you, want me to be frankly honest with you, no, I wasn't surprised because we put in a lot of work, and these guys talked about, the 6-week program we put together over the summertime. The guys, worked really hard, and I enjoyed the process. So when you see the process in which the work you guys put in, you're not surprised about the outcome.
Okay, very good. Now, who's your next opponent, and what are some things that you're going to have to be focusing on and try to clean up?
Our next opponent is Wascom. We play them next Saturday at 6 o'clock in Crockett. Pretty good ball team. They went 3 rounds in the playoffs last year, and they actually won that game yesterday by the score of 45-0.
Okay, so you guys will be going. Now, just for intention purposes, because this is actually our first time having you on, and let me say welcome to the community as well. What's your defensive scheme and offensive scheme, Coach, for the Falcons?
Right now on the defensive side, we run a 4-3 gap sound attacking defense, and on the offense, we run a spread offense.
Okay, so it seems like you guys are going to, so y'all going to have to beat us passing.
You're going to have to beat us passing or running. Go left, you're going to take away the things that most offenses do well and just contain them that way.
Okay, now very good. Now, as far as your numbers, how many guys do you have dressed out, Coach?
On yesterday, we had 45 kids dressed out.
Okay, that's a good number. That's a very good number. Very good number.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, we want to thank you so much for joining us on this early morning session here at the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. And want to give you some closing thoughts and comments, sir, as we get ready to close this segment out.
Okay, well, we appreciate the opportunity for us having us this morning, and these kids in the community worked really, really hard, and I think they made the people in the community proud last night, and we just want to continue to do it, and then take it again week by week, and go 1-0 every week, and at the end of the season, hopefully have enough success for these guys, have some memories of doing some great things here at the Royal this year.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, we look forward to the continued growth with you on this season. And hopefully when we get together next week, we'll have another victory report to give and share with the community.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for having me.
All right. He is head football coach of the Royal Falcons, Theodis Riggins of the Falcons. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. We're going to take us a break, and we'll be back with more of our Sports Report Saturday right here from the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And here are your Friday night football results in the area of Waller County, Texas, and beyond. Tomball Memorial victorious over Nimitz by the score of 54-10. Navasota 49, Wharton 0. Somerville victorious over Hull DeLista by the score of 38-10. Magnolia West beats Brenham by the score of 45-21. And in the Battle of Waller County, Royal victorious over Hempstead by the score of 61-6.
The Open Mic Broadcast Network would like to take this time to recognize its sponsors and underwriters: Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Prairie View Athletic Club, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Reflections Paint and Body Shop, Helping Hands Lawn Service, the Hotline Press newspaper of Hempstead, Texas, Diva Skin Conditioner, Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill. For more information on how you can become an underwriter or a sponsor here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, our number to call is 832-213-8824. Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome back to this segment here on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. We are truly excited about this. We have a friend, we might as well say call him family member now, of the network. We call him the guru, the godfather. He is our basketball analyst. Boy, I got to try to say that 5 times. And we welcome back to the show, Coach Van Pettaway. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great, Dr. Prince. I'm just happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you on board. We know that you are the basketball king. There's no doubt about that. And we come into a season that we all can relate to, that we all kind of hang our hats on, and it's football season. It's been, as I say, a roller coaster ride, up, down, in, and out. But now the rubber has met the road, and here we stand, the beginning of the fall season. It seemed like a long time, but it really went pretty fast, huh, Coach?
Well, it did because of spring football. So that that what it did, it gave us football in the fall of last year, and of course spring football this year. So that spring season helped fill that gap that we normally would have been looking and searching for something else. But those the purists would have switched straight over to baseball in the springtime. But having baseball and football and the SWAC going on at the same time really helped.
It helped bring a sense of normality, even though those days of what we call normal, Coach, are long gone. And it is time for us to try to make the necessary adjustments. And the most important thing we can do individually and collectively is be responsible one for another, and i.e. be our brother's keeper. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, keep your distance, and help rectify this thing no matter what state you're in.
Dr. Prince, you cannot say that enough. I mean, our people and everybody need to really take a step back and reevaluate the situation. If we want things to get back to what we consider normal, then we have to do our part. And that part starts with the vaccination. And there are too many people that are walking around that are not vaccinated, and that's not going to help the situation. It's making it worse.
Absolutely. And all we can do, Coach, is try to lead by example and pray that people come to whatever rationale that they're having for not doing it and line up and help do your part to help try to gain some control of this thing. So it is what it is. I guess we've done our public service announcement for this segment, and we'll move on. Officially, we have this week coming up the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And this game is as they say, the start of the fall football season. The MEAC coming in lean, not as many teams as in time past. They have 6 teams that will be competing, which in hindsight, Coach, it makes the road somewhat easier from the MEAC to come to be the one to represent at the Celebration Bowl. And it means more money to split amongst them who hung around for the football proceeds.
That is true. But, and whereas the members of the SWAC are going to have to go through a gauntlet to get that representative for the postseason bowl, but being able to kick off the season this weekend with this game, I think is magical, and I'm looking forward to it. And to have college game day there, I think that's amazing. That's amazing now.
It is absolutely amazing. And before we get into these picks, or should I say pick of the week, because there's only one game on the MEAC SWAC deal, and we do have a tiebreaker. We'll explain that to the listeners in a little bit. I want to get your insight, Coach, on what's been happening. I'm calling it in the big boy circuit. We know that Oklahoma and Texas has announced that they will be a part of the SEC, and just recently this week, we've had the announcement of an alliance between the Pac-12, ACC, and the Big Ten. This thing is really went from a crawl to a light jog now as the momentum is picking up. What are you seeing developing with these moves being made?
Well, I think everybody is reacting to the fact that Texas and Oklahoma made that move, and everybody else is trying to. I think it's a reach, even though these teams these conferences are looking to align. I still don't think that they're going to come up with enough people and enough schools that will really make a big difference. I think, like some other people, the SEC controls football and the NC2A. That's just my humble opinion, that they control what they do and say. That's what goes, and unfortunately, everything is driven by football. They're not considering what's going to happen to basketball and the other sports. All they're thinking about is creating this super conference, which they have done with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, and they're looking out for the welfare of football. We got to have somebody looking out for all the sports. And with the Big 12 still hanging out there, they should have tried their best to align themselves with somebody so that league can remain viable.
Well, they I didn't mean to cut you off, Coach. What's going on, what the whispers are at least, is that the Big 12 have been in some strong conversation, I guess, wink, wink, with Memphis, Cincinnati, SMU, and University of Houston. That's been the whispers.
Right.
And
for football, that is not the answer.
No. Well, they would definitely have to lean more toward basketball.
Right.
And here's another interesting twist. The ACC has aligned themselves up in this pack between them and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Right.
But ACC is an ESPN product, if you would. And people are saying that ESPN is the true puppet master behind all of this, trying to control, yes, sir, what's going to happen. So what's really going on, we're looking at the SEC and this, that, and the other, but it's really now boiled down, from my opinion, and looking and understanding what I know, between ESPN and Fox.
Right. Yeah, they're pulling the strings, I think, behind the scenes. And this is just a big money grab. Everybody's going after that almighty dollar.
They're going after the almighty dollar, and they still want to throw us peasant change, and we're supposed to be happy with it. But I'm not going to beat that horse. Well, yes, I will. Let me stop lying. I will beat that horse until the horse says stop, and when he says stop, I'm going to still keep beating it. We took a poll a couple of weeks ago, Coach, and we had 4 options. What do you think would be a reasonable TV deal for the Southwestern Athletic Conference? I didn't say the MEAC. I said Southwestern Athletic Conference, and the options were $3 million a year, $5 million a year, $10 million a year, or $15 million a year. Which one would you pick, Coach?
Well, I would think that the 15, so that all the schools would be able to benefit.
Okay, and the winner of that was the $10 million a year. It felt like that was a fair assessment amongst those that participated in the poll. Now, the $15 million a year would be roughly about $1.2 million per institution.
Right.
Yes, sir. And
if you stop at $10 million, you got more than. They're not even getting $1 million.
No, sir. That came out to about $833,000 per school. Now, but it sure sounds better than what we're getting right now.
Well, yeah, that's true. The $800,000 per institution would be a step up. But you asked me which one would I pick. I would have picked.
Of course.
So that each school would at least get $1 million.
Yes, sir. You remind me of my son. You remind me of my son just then, Coach. Of course, you're gonna pick the big one. When my son, my baby boy, was a little child, and we were eating chicken, and Daddy likes the breast, and so my son, he had to be about 5 or 6 years old, and he kept looking at the chicken. He says, "Papa, can I have a piece of that big chicken?" I said, "The big chicken? What you mean the big chicken?" He pointed at that breast. I said, "Son, you can't get the big chicken until you start paying bills around the house. You got to get this drumstick." So we want the big chicken, Coach, but we're going to have to settle for them drumsticks right about now so we can make it all happen. But, look, I'm just glad to be at the table. Put me at the table. If you're going to bring me to the table, at least let me eat some of the same piece of the chicken that you eat. Don't give me the chicken neck or the feet. Let me eat some of the drumstick. Let me start with the drumstick and work my way up. So, like I said, and I know the $15 million would be absolutely great, but in essence, we are really and truly, when I say we, and I'm not just talking about HBCU institutions, I'm talking about FCS institutions. Right. I was reading a report from the ACC, North Carolina. Is that North Carolina State that's there?
They're the ACC, yep.
Yes, sir. Now, they were complaining, their Power 5 program, about don't leave at halftime and we look and up in the field in the stands that there are half empty seats. It says demoralizing. Now, you would never hear that, you would think, coming from a Power 5 program, which lets me know that this is something that's contagious from top to bottom.
It is, because a few years ago, now I'll remind you now, Nick Saban got on the student body at Alabama because they were doing the same thing. Alabama was so strong that, by halftime they knew the game was over with. Students were leaving. And Nick came out and he blasted the students and said, I tell you what, if you all don't want to sit in those seats, we have a waiting list of grown people that want those seats. And he asked the student body not to do that because he felt it was disrespectful to the players who put in the time and work to get themselves in a position where they could have these big spreads when it came to the margin of victory. So Nick Saban started that, I would say 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, this lets us know that you have to be able to support yourself if you want anyone from the outside looking in to even look in your direction. So charity truly begins at home, and let's come out there, let's support our teams, let's support our fans. Even if you can't make it in person, buy a season ticket, buy the low scale if that's what you have to do, and make a donation to someone and help them catch that fever, not just, like I say, Prairie View fever or Alabama A&M fever, but SWAC fever, MEAC fever, college football fever all across the land. So it's a true challenge across the board.
Right, because Dr. Prince, I promise you, there's a young lady or a young man out there, when I say young, I'm talking about a child, that would love to have that ticket and have that black college experience. You never know how giving away a ticket will inspire a young person. You know, that might be there. In some of these communities, those kids never have an opportunity to step foot on that collegiate campus. So
Yes, sir.
This is a good way to give back, introduce the young people to higher education and some of the things that go with it. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to think about the future. And the future is the young people that are coming up, our youngsters. And so we need to help lead and mold them in the right way.
Absolutely. And, Coach, you remind me of another story. A young man who was at Waller High School. And Waller High School, for those who are not familiar, is 5 miles east of Prairie View. And another little town is Hempstead, Texas, which is 5 miles east of Prairie View. So Prairie View is kind of right in the middle of these two communities. And I was talking to the young man, and he grew up in Waller, had never been to a Prairie View A&M University game.
Yep.
Coach, I said, you and 3 of your buddies, pick 3 of your buddies. I said, and we're going to give you a PV experience.
There you go.
And, Coach, the young men stepped on that beautiful campus of mine, and they saw that, at that time it was Old Blackshear Stadium, sir. And that little old stadium was rocking. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
And the young man, Coach, I'm not exaggerating, went and to the bookstore and bought $300 worth of PV gear. 2 of the young men said they had never even thought about coming to Prairie View, ended up becoming PV students. You know, they didn't play any ball. And it's little things like that that you never know who you're going to impact.
That is absolutely correct.
Yes, sir. Now, see, Coach, you got us going all around this Mulberry. No, it's a good thing. We got to let this rubber meet the road because we got some serious head-to-head competition starting this weekend. And I think we came up with a name. It's the Petaway Prince Pick'ems, and it's the P3 Cup that we're going to be battling for. So, and it's going to be the best of the best, and we're going to extend this thing and give, credit to whom credit is due, and let the record state that I'm coming into this season defending champion, and we are ready to keep the title in Prairie View. And we're actually working on a trophy that we'll be able to transport back and forth, that we'll be able to display and show to the listeners on social media who the king is. And we used to say, we didn't say king when I come up, Coach. We said the king.
Yeah,
you know,
who the king is.
Who the king is. And we don't mean no harm, but when it's competition, we're going to do what we got to do to be the last man standing.
That is absolutely correct. I agree with you 100% because in Huntsville, Alabama, we already have a place on the mantle for the trophy.
Well, look, just keep a light shining over there because it's going to be vacant for a while so you can go do – you remember the old finger puppets that you used to be able to do? So maybe you can do some little finger shadows and entertain yourself while we polish that joker once a week in lovely Prairie View, Texas. And so, it's a simple head-to-head competition. We'll pick MEAC and SWAC games of the week, and then the tiebreaker in the case that we have a tie will be an SEC game of the week other than Alabama that you will get to pick each week coming up, and that will be our wild card. And so with that will be, if it needs to be the decision maker, the tiebreaker. But I don't think we're going to need no tiebreakers, Coach, because I think I got this one pretty well pat down. We ready to roll.
I hear you.
I am from the Missouri, the Show Me State, and we just gonna have to show y'all how to get it done, man. We're gonna have to show you how to get it done.
And it's my job to show you that we know how to pick them here in Alabama.
Okay, well, I understand. I understand. So with that being said, this week will be, I guess, a pretty civilized deal. It's only one game that we'll have to decide from. It is the MEAC SWAC Challenge. We have Alcorn, and they'll be taking on North Carolina Central. Now, North Carolina Central has had up and down seasons of late. And of course, the obvious case in Alcorn hadn't played in 18 months.
Right.
So it's going to be, what will they look like coming out the gate? I'm pretty sure, getting reports from the Alcorn camp, they are chopping at the bits. They're tired of banging up on each other. They are ready to get back in action, and it's going to be a great time in the ATL to get this season started. And with that being said, sir, I want to know who you're picking to win this week's kickoff and why.
Well, I think it's very easy for me. I'm picking Alcorn State Braves, the Alcorn State Braves out of the SWAC for the simple reason they did not participate in the spring game and the spring league. So that means that they're rested, they're tested, they had more time and opportunity to put in things that are not on film for North Carolina Central to see. And I think with the nucleus that Alcorn State has coming back and the mere fact that they were picked to win the West, I've got to go with them.
Okay.
I've got to go with them.
Well, and you know, I'm not going to play devil's advocate because this is competition, and I'm not going to be, as they say, crazy. We're going to have to be in agreement on this week, sir,
Yep.
because Alcorn, to me, absentee or not, strong program, strong leadership, and it's been consistent, whether it was in the East or now in the new West home.
Yep.
This is the team to beat until proven otherwise.
I agree. I concur.
Yes, sir. They have all the right pieces, as you stated. They are going to be fresh. They are more than likely going to have some new wrinkles that they add, but I don't expect to see too many new wrinkles in this week's game because it is a non-conference game, and they're going to save the mojo for when it really counts in conference play. But with everything that's lined up, it's almost like a plug-and-go system that has been established with the Braves, and they never seem to miss a beat, no matter who's at the quarterback position, no matter who's at the running back position, and they win these games consistently, Coach, in the trenches on the offense and defensive side of things. And when you look at them, they look like grown men out there.
That's true, but now you think about this, though. This is what some people are going to look at. They're going to look at Coach McNair's record against the MEAC. You know,
Okay.
He dominates the SWAC, but he's not done so well against the MEAC.
Well, he has not done well against North Carolina A&T.
That's true, but that's MEAC. Right. Right. Yeah.
You know,
that's part of the MEAC.
Yeah, we are formerly part of the MEAC. They moved on to greener pasture, but but North Carolina A&T had everyone's number, and I know they're going to look at how he has done against the MEAC opponents, but I don't see that being too much of a stretch for this week coming up. Now let's make this a little bit more intriguing since it's only one game, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
You have a score in your mind.
I'm going to go 38-14.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of points, Coach.
Yeah, I know. I believe the Braves are hungry. I believe the Braves are ready to get off that reservation and do some things because those players have sat around and watched all the other SWAC teams play in the spring. And they want to prove to the world that they're still the best team in the SWAC. So I think they'll come out pumped, ready to play. I think their offense will click, and I don't think their defense is going to yield more than 14 points.
Wow. 38-14.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your final answer, sir?
Final answer.
38-14. Now, wow, I'm picking Alcorn to win, but I'm thinking more along the lines of 24 points that they'll score.
Okay.
And I'm thinking more like a 24-14, 24-10 victory. And it's not going to be a blowout, but it's going to be a convincing enough win where they'll feel good about themselves leading to their next opponent to, get this season started off correctly. And I'm going to go with 24-14 as the final score.
Okay,
so,
and then since we both picked Alcorn, this will be the tiebreaker. Are they closer to the 24 points or to my 38?
To the 24, that you know what? Or could it be the margin of victory? I know. Or can we do margin of victory?
Right.
Because you got a margin of victory. Well, you said 38-14, right?
Right. I said they'll be closer to 38 points than to your 24.
Okay, and I was talking about the margin of victory. I said they'll win by 14. You said they'll win by 24.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put the over under or the margin of victory.
Let's go to over under.
Okay, so 38-24. I'm on defense. Oh man, yeah, this is going to be all right, Coach. This is going to be all right.
We're going to be off to a good start.
Yeah, we're going to be off to a good start, and it's off to a fantastic start. Let's just pray that the will of the Lord will cover any and every play that happens. Right. No serious injuries,
yep.
No one coming down with this old nasty virus, and that we can have a great time watching this game and getting things ready. And, Coach, we'll be ready for that next week. We'll have a little bit more action to roll this thing out, but it is always a joy and a pleasure to get with you at any time, sir, whether it's football, basketball, or tiddlywinks. I always gain something when I get a chance to talk with you.
And I'm just happy to be a part, Dr. Prince, and continue to keep up the good work.
Well, we're going, as they say, we're going to work hard, sir, because we have to.
There you go.
Yes, sir. He is the guru, and I'm calling him doctor because he's the doctor of basketball. Coach Van Pettaway. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you so much for joining us in this segment here at the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. Keep it right where you got it, and we'll see you on the other side. The station designed with you in mind, serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
This is Rob Butler with a little STS football news. The Western Athletic Conference has struck a new 5-year agreement with ESPN. Sources say the new deal, which is slated to begin this year, will see all events move to ESPN+. But sources add that each member has a carve-out of up to 8 contests for local linear options. It's unclear whether the WAC Digital Network, unveiled in 2014 to stream league events, will be phased out by the full transition to ESPN+. ESPN's relationship with the league is not new, as the two have had various partnerships since the 1990s. Now, last December, McNeese announced that men's basketball coach Keith Schroyer would take over as the school's athletic director. Schroyer's AD role comes with a 3-year contract that dates to July 1st of this year. As the Cowboys AD, Schroyer stands to earn $200,000 and is eligible for bonuses ranging from $500 to $10,000. Now, should Schroyer accept another AD job prior to January 1st, 2023, he would owe the university a $50,000 buyout. Now, the Southland Conference announced Wednesday that it will not plan to reschedule league competitions due to COVID-19 impacts in the upcoming 2021-2022 academic year. A team unable to participate due to COVID-19 issues will be subject to forfeiture reflected in conference results, standings, and tournament seeding. This policy is subject to change based on national, statewide, and local medical conditions as well as directives from the NCAA and institutional leaders. Also, unlike last year, the Southland will not establish team roster or positional minimums to play league contests. Now, this comes from Matt Brown's Extra Points, What's Happening in the WAC. On August 13th, College AD posted a nugget in their newsletter headline, Sources say the new look WAC is taking on a life of its own, including what's been dubbed as an ouster at the top. Now, Matt Brown sought to find out more, so he called everybody he knew associated with the WAC. He spoke to several individuals involved in conference administration who work as athletic directors for member schools and who work deep in the industry. He wanted to understand not just what was going on with the league's commissioner change, but if there was tension among league membership and where everybody thought the league was headed. League sources, both affiliated with Texas institutions and at other schools, emphasized that it wouldn't be accurate to depict league tension or divisions along Texas and non-Texas battle lines. Furthermore, Tarleton State isn't even a full D1 member. Every single person Brown talked to said that Tarleton's internal influence as some sort of fulcrum for change was highly overstated. For what it's worth, prior to reporting this article, multiple WAC ADs told Brown that they were impressed with how well the league's ADs work together. Now, what exactly happened with Commissioner Hurd, that's not totally clear. The exact details vary so much from source to source that even now, despite having talked to multiple people familiar with the process, Brown is not certain exactly how everything happened. Every version of the story shared a few similarities, though. The idea that Hurd was dismissed on the spot in some dramatic fashion was not true. It was communicated to Hurd that his contract was not going to be renewed. The exact reasoning for going in a different direction was not communicated in the final board meeting, other than the league presidents communicating that they felt the league was entering a new era which needs new challenges and has new needs. What are some of those challenges? In the short term, there's membership. Right now, the league currently sits at 13 schools. Back in January, Hurd and other leaders indicated that they wanted to eventually get to 14 schools, with the new addition ideally to be an FCS football playing institution located in or near Texas. That might not happen for a while if it happens at all. Multiple league sources indicated that they believed it was very important to not expand simply for the sake of expanding to fill out a league schedule or secure an FCS automatic bid. If the league was to expand, it needed to do so with a member who would be able to compete and participate on day one, and not just in football, but across multiple sports. There are not many schools that fit those criteria now. One source at a Texas institution said that he believed his school would be reluctant to support the inclusion of any other Southland schools, like perhaps Incarnate Word or McNeese, without, quote, significant changes to their business plans, close quote. After all, quote, we left the Southland because we sought to better align with schools that fit our long-term goals. Why would we turn around and add those same schools unless they made big changes, close quote. Multiple league sources told Brown they believed that as of now, adding a D2 school would be unlikely, as the league would prefer to not have three members of the conference reclassifying at the same time. That would further limit the potential expansion pool. Sources said they expected the league to be patient, waiting until next year, or even potentially longer, to add new members. After all, Big 12 and other conference realignment decisions elsewhere in college sports could create trickle-down effects that might free up a new candidate to potentially join the league. Another league source added that while nobody wanted to push another school out of the league, it was possible that the WAC could lose the school, dropping their membership back to an even 12. Long term, there's a bigger philosophical question, one with real risks but real opportunities. Namely, what does this league want to be, and how much risk are they comfortable taking on to get there? This league has some big schools, and many could get even bigger. Utah Valley State University is now the biggest public school in Utah with over 40,000 students. UT Rio Grande Valley is one of the 15 fastest growing public schools in the country, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education. with enrollment growing over 58% from the last decade. One of the largest and fastest growing private schools, that's Grand Canyon University. Not every school fits this description, like Seattle, with an enrollment of under 8,000 students, but most of the rest of the league now includes schools that are rapidly growing. Even several schools with smaller enrollments like Cal Baptist and Dixie State are growing. This, far more than state lines, is where tension and disagreements are most likely to pop up. How much risk in a media rights deal, membership agreement, scheduling philosophy are you willing to take, knowing that your campus could look very different in 6 years? If you've been betting on yourself over the last decade and believe that you could be a larger and more prestigious school soon, maybe you'd want to look at other potential media partners, for example. Maybe you'd want your member schools to spend more money or schedule more aggressively. It's worth pointing out that because of COVID, the league ADs haven't met in person since January. All of us know that Zoom has some limitations, so Brown thinks it's reasonable to expect that sometimes leaders might disagree or get on each other's nerves or talk past each other. That happens to any league going through a substantial recalibration, so you'd especially expect that to happen on the heels of a massively disruptive pandemic. Brown gets the argument for optimism. The defending FCS national champion is in this league. About half of the league's sports teams, they are capable of grabbing an NCAA tournament spot. The league has an identity, an attractive geographic footprint, and real momentum on its side. But how well they can execute on that potential depends on leadership both at the local level and the conference level. Nailing this next commissioner hire will be critical, as will finding ways to keep all member schools on the same proverbial page. Getting the league's membership situation stabilized was a major accomplishment and one that Hurd should be praised for, but in the long run, that might turn out to be the easy part. Now, the Battle of the Border is back on. McNeese is set to play Lamar. As first reported in FBSschedules.com and confirmed to the American Press by McNeese Athletic Director Heath Schroyer Sunday, the Cowboys have signed to play Lamar in a 4-game football series. The home-and-home series with the Cardinals will start no later than the 2025 season. Exact seasons for the series will be determined and likely depend on conference schedules. Schroyer also confirmed that the Cowboys agreed to play Southern University at home on August 31st to open the 2024 season. McNeese will play at Southern this year in Week 3 on September 18th at 6 p.m. McNeese is 2-0 against Southern, last winning 34-28 to open the 2019 season inside Cowboys Stadium. The first meeting was in Baton Rouge, a 35-18 McNeese win in 2004. The teams were supposed to play in Lake Charles in 2005, but the game was canceled due to Hurricane Rita. They were unable to agree on a makeup date at the time. The 2019 game in Lake Charles drew a Cowboys Stadium record crowd of 20,437. The 2024 contest will be a return for this year's game in Baton Rouge. McNeese was originally scheduled to play a home-and-home series with Youngstown State on the same dates as the Southern games this fall and 2024. However, McNeese and Youngstown State mutually agreed to cancel that series, according to Schroyer. He thinks playing games with regional interest is important in keeping their costs down. McNeese's FBS money game this year is in Week 2 at LSU. Next season, the Cowboys will travel to Houston to play Rice. In 2023, the Cowboys will visit the Swamp in Gainesville, Florida, and be back in the Southeastern Conference the following year, playing at Texas A&M. McNeese also has a home-and-home with Alcorn State in back-to-back years starting at Cowboy Stadium in 2022. McNeese has a deal for home-and-home games against Tarleton State in 2023-2024, with the first one in Lake Charles. The two teams open the spring season with a Cowboy victory. McNeese holds a 27-11 and one-tie series advantage over Lamar, dating back to the first meeting in November 1951 in Lake Charles. The Cowboys have won 8 of the 11 games played since the Cardinals brought back football in 2010. Lamar won this past spring 27-26 in overtime in Cowboy Stadium. Lamar and 4 other schools left the Southland Conference at the end of June. The Cardinals, along with 3 other Texas universities, moved to the Western Athletic Conference. Of course, The rivalry could be renewed sooner considering all the conference shifting going on in college sports. But for now, the battle of the border is back on. That's Rob Butler, Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.